because that position is known to Kenya Kwanza, it is known to everyone else who has cared to look into the matter. More importantly, thirdly, you will be aware that recently there's an issue that members of the Jubilee Party took to the Political Parties Dispute Tribunal. That is case number E001 of 2023. And what's important in that decision is that the action that was taken by the registrar to recognize certain changes within the Jubilee Party was actually nullified. And it brings it back to exactly where it was, what the lawyers call the status quo ante. These positions are positions that have been confirmed with the records of the registrar of political parties. In addition, we will have you know that the Honorable Adan Kainan is not just a member of Jubilee, which is part of the Azimio coalition. Indeed, in the coalition document, the Honorable Adan Kainan is a vice chair to the chair of Azimio, and that remains to date. That has not changed. He is the vice chair to the former governor, Honorable Oparanya. On the objection to Honorable Kosing's inclusion, we have discussed, we have not had any issue of principle on why the Kenya Kwanza is objecting to the Honorable Kosing. First of all, the Honorable Kosing is a member of the KUP party, which signed a pre-election agreement with Azimio and remains part of Azimio. To date, there has not been any agreement or any attempt to withdraw from Azimio. Indeed, the Honorable Kosing is the deputy leader and as such has not made any motion or any indications to move. I will also have you know that the Honorable Kosing holds the position of deputy treasurer in Azimio to date. Additionally, there is no post-election agreement that has been signed between his party and the Kenya Kwanza coalition, nor has there been any attempt. You yourselves know, because you reported today, that a member of the party, former Governor Professor Lonyangopuo, said today that they are about to start taking a move towards withdrawal. There is no way you can object to somebody on the basis of an intention and not on the basis of reality. So we believe that the objection to the Honorable Kosing is an afterthought. It was meant to counter our objection to Honorable Kainan so that it appears that the objections are of the same pedestal, but they are not. Theirs is not of principle, theirs is an afterthought, and it's in bad faith, and that's where we are not prepared to concede. In those circumstances, it leaves us in a situation where there are only three options. Having hit that stalemate, there are only three options. We did not appoint ourselves here. We were appointed through the leadership and the parliamentary group. So there are only three options. One is either or both of those gentlemen, noting the objections and the relative weight, they can choose to withdraw from this team. The second option is if either party chooses to withdraw its objection. In our case, the objection to Honorable Adan Kainan, and that's a decision that we can't make because the objection was raised by our appointing team and principals. The third option is if our appointing authority choose to withdraw any of those gentlemen on their own accord, because that can also be done. So until then, we've hit a stalemate and we've suspended these talks until such time as there might be consensus along the lines reached or the position changes. That is our position on this matter. If there's any questions, we can take them quickly.
I have one question. My name is Lukas from the Star. Last week, you inquired including the nature of talks to the principal. Was there feedback?
As we clarified, it is not that we referred. We said we were going to continue engaging on the issue with ourselves and with the appointing authorities. As we can now tell you, we have engaged with ourselves, we were engaged with the appointing authorities, and we are unable to come to an agreement on it. And that is why we have not told you that we are adjourning to next week or for 3 days, because we think it would be a waste of time. Either those issues are resolved and we move on, or we know they are not resolved and we do not give people false hope that there are talks going on. Yes. Well, fortunately, first of all, that issue has not arisen. Because if we were to move forward, then we were going to come to the stage when we will decide what are the issues to be included. The right to protest is in the Constitution, and you cannot be accused of bad faith when you exercise Article 37 rights. Any other question? Yes. Well, we had agreed as a team, I address the press. I'm the spokesperson for this team, so he does not need to do that. We have already given you the various options that there are. So this is not a question of personal feelings. This is a question of principle, as we've explained to you. Any other question? I think that's all. Thank you very much.
We have said what has happened.
We are very clear.
Aya, you can call our friends.
Let me tell them that we're done.
Members, Frank B. All right. Thank you very much, members of the press. We have a brief statement to make on behalf of Kenya Kwanza Coalition in Parliament, as the members appointed to represent that coalition in these bipartisan talks. This meeting is the second meeting after the one we had at Kempinski last week. And at Kempinski, we agreed to meet today so that we could continue with the bipartisan talks. I wish to report that we have made tremendous progress today because we had several issues to discuss. In as much as we never exhausted all of them, we have tackled two in a manner that we think is the best we could do in the circumstances. Two items, these were, number one, the joint secretariat. We have agreed as a committee that we require to have a joint secretariat so that we can be getting our records formal and we are able to make reference from time to time regarding what we have. We have discussed this and we have agreed this is going to happen, and the Azimio side actually had their proposal already. Lawyer Paul Mwangi was proposed, and we had no objection whatsoever to it because that is their choice. We have agreed on our side to consult much more so that we are able to agree on who is going to be our CEO in terms of taking minutes, keeping records, and what have you. And we have agreed that we'll be proposing to them our name as we progress. This is going to be within the shortest time possible. Number two, we have discussed the issue of membership to this particular committee constitution. As you very well know, there were objections raised by both sides, with Azimio raising an objection to the inclusion of Honorable Aden Keinan as a member of the committee. The Kenya Kwanza side also had an objection to the inclusion of Honorable David Kosing as a member of the committee. Last time we met, we agreed that these particular issues, we would engage the principals so that we discuss exactly what it is we have to do with the two objections. We confirmed that we engaged the principal on the Kenya Kwanza side, and his instructions to us were, please go and get what the exact issues are. Then once you agree yourselves, the issues are settled. If you do not agree, we can look at what those issues are and why you cannot agree. We confirm that today we have settled the issues So we have made progress because the issues against Honorable Kainan were raised. We have discussed that in extenso. The issues against Honorable David Kosing were also raised. We have also discussed that in extenso. Unfortunately, we have not been able to agree on how to proceed to process those particular objections. And we've, on the part of Kenya Kwanza, agreed that we require further consultations with the principals, with the coalitions, so that we are able to move forward. However, both sides have agreed on the options we have. And those options are three. We wish to communicate the three options to you as follows. We can go for a win-win situation in these talks, which means no side loses. And the only way that can happen is for the two core principles or the coalitions themselves to withdraw the objections. If that happens, it means Honorable Kainan and Honorable Kosing continue to sit in these particular talks. It's a win-win for everybody, no side loses, and that will be comfortable for the country. We may as well agree where all of us lose, the lose-lose situation, in which case no side wins, no side does anything. The two members are withdrawn by the core principles or by the coalitions, and they stop sitting in with an option for replacement or with no option of replacement, because the numbers would remain constant. The only third option we have is for the honorable members themselves to solve such, sit down and examine themselves, and make voluntary resignations. If that happens, again, the situation is solved, the problem is actually brought out of the way, and the core principles or the coalitions will choose whether to nominate new persons or to leave the numbers as they are. So, how do we proceed from here? We have made a proposal to our colleagues on the other side that, number one, the two core chairs can actually meet the core principles or, and or their representatives in the coalitions, so that we can brief them exactly on what issues were raised on each member and why we came up with the three options we have enumerated to you. Therefore, as we take an adjournment today, it is open to Honorable Otiende Amolo, the co-chair of the Azimio coalition, and myself to meet His Excellency the President, William Samoei Ruto, as an appointing authority, and also meet the former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, as a co-principal and appointing authority, so that we can give them a report. And once this is done, including if they opt to exercise the options we have given, we can actually report to the country the progress we have made by this Friday, the 29th of April, 2023. And finally, may we reiterate on the part of Kenya Kwanza Coalition that the Kenya Kwanza Coalition is totally committed to these talks. We have come here with open hearts, open hands, and utmost good faith to discuss and agree on how to solve the issues that affect our country today as we speak. Those issues have not been brought before the committee, but we are aware of them from the press, from the papers, and from the written communications we have received from the various sites. We commit ourselves 100% to ensure that these talks are carried through until the country realizes the benefit of the talks, so that We all live harmoniously, the problems possibly are solved, and we have faith in our country as we have always had, and in the country's leadership. That commitment is expressed now and will continue being expressed in all fora that will come in the future. Thank you very much. God bless. We can field a few questions. Yes.
My name is Justice Mshenga from Daily Nation.
Yes.
Azimio side says that both Mr. Kinan and Mr. Hossein are members of the coalition and they are even officials in their coalition, and that Jubilee has not withdrawn from Azimio, KUP has not withdrawn from Azimio according to the registrar of political parties.
Thank you very much.
Secondly, what are your terms of reference as Kenya Kwanza?
Thank you very much. Let's begin. Number one, we have two positions here. We have the legal position, which is called the de jure position. We also have the factual position, which is called the de facto position. On paper, the position stated by Azimio may be correct, even with the registrar of political parties and everywhere else. However, as a matter of fact, that may not be the case, because we all know what has happened to Jubilee as far as Azimio is concerned. They have expressly expressed their intention to work with Kenya Kwanza. That is number one. The same scenario, and I used the legal terms, mutatis mutandis. It means the same scenario applies to the other side. KUP has already expressed its intention to leave Azimio and work with Kenya Kwanza. And that is a fact. So that is the position as we speak. But let me speak why Honorable Kainan was actually taken by Kenya Kwanza. Number one, it is that de facto position. Number two, he represents a very wide constituency known as Northeastern Kenya, the Northern Kenya. As you can see, he's the only representative we have. If he's not there, that area is not represented. And therefore, in the eyes of Kenya Kwanza, we actually saw that as being fair and just. Number two, he has also a constituency that he represents. So it cannot be said he's going to sit in there to express his own personal opinions and feelings and whatever else he can express personally. It is collective, it is representative, it is on behalf of the people of Audas and the Northern Kenya. But most important, and this is very important because His Excellency the President actually said this was going to be a parliamentary process. It is an issue that is not resolved because as far as we are concerned, this committee will have to be taken to Parliament for purposes of formalization. If that is the case, Honorable Koinan is going to come in as a member of Parliament, representing Audas, just the way I represent the Raka constituency, and Honorable Mutuza represents Kibwezi West. Honorable Bonia Loale is actually the Senator Kakamega. That again has to be considered. So that is how we see it. As far as what are the terms of reference for Kenya Kwanza, let's begin by saying it is Azimio that complained first, raised their issues, all right? And we came over here so that we can agree mutually on the terms of reference. We are going to have some agreement of some sort, a working agreement. It is in that agreement that possibly Kenya Kwanza may first and foremost put in their responses to what Azimio has raised, and also if they have their own issues, their own counter terms, then those can be put in there and Azimio can respond. At the end of the day, we have to look at what law needs to be amended. Number two, are there any policy decisions which we can recommend to the executive to implement to solve some of the problems facing the country? Yes, sir. As far as we are concerned, we are doing these negotiations at arm's length. Neither side is taking an upper hand against the other. We are doing it equally on equal terms. One reason these talks were called is because of the demonstrations that were going over in the country, where we had destruction to property, to some extent loss of lives, and some easiness to our economy. So as we go on, it would be our position that Azimio should actually not carry on these demonstrations until the outcome of the talks is laid on the table. Yes. As we finish. Yes, sir. Yes, this was supposed to come up not in today's meeting, but in the next meeting, which we are going to announce to you, we have to discuss that as an issue. Exactly what is our seat of talks? On what basis do we anchor ourselves? So as we talk, we have to see if we are parliamentary, then we are within the confines of the law and standing orders in Parliament. If we are extra parliamentary, we will have to find a legal basis upon which we can carry on the talks without breaching our laws. Let's hear from a lady. We have the position is, as I said, there is a legal position as it prevails today. That's the de jure one, in which case we are saying, if you look at the paperwork, Jubilee is still part of Azimio. But there is also the de facto position. And de facto position is what prevails today, is that in all matters of fact, Jubilee has pulled out of Azimio. What is awaited is formalization. That is one argument. KUP actually is through the same process. And you saw it yesterday. It is you guys who showed the party leaders saying they are already done, they are moving on to Kenya Kwanza. If that is the position, and for purposes of fairness, so that all sides are represented, it prevails. But if we say we have to follow the legal position, I've explained why in our there is a requirement also to talk to the coalitions, to talk to the appointing authorities as far as this is concerned. This is why we have taken the break, but the talks are not, they are not suspended per se, they are just adjourned. We have said we are informing, we are communicating on Friday. We've given you a date. And after that, another date is going to be set. Ordinarily, it is the Secretariat that sets dates. But now that it's not yet promulgated, we have the co-chairs to set the dates, and we'll inform you. That's enough. That's enough. Thank you.